Good morning. This morning's devotional is what I've called a very different teacher. Our texts are found in John chapter 4, verses 1 through 3, and then verses 43 through 45. We'll begin with 1 through 3. When Jesus realized that the Pharisees were aware he was gaining and baptizing more disciples than John, although it was not Jesus who baptized, but his disciples, he left Judea and returned to Galilee. And then in verses 43 through 45, after 2 days, Jesus left for Galilee. Those 2 days, by the way, were when he was in Samaria with the woman at the well. Now, he himself had testified that a prophet has no honor in his own hometown. At some point, Jesus had said this to his disciples. Yet when he arrived, the Galileans welcomed him. They had seen all the great things he had done in Jerusalem at the feast, and for they had gone there as well. So this was not long after that first Passover feast. So we have here two examples of what some might say are examples of how Jesus viewed the world around him, his worldview. So was he afraid of the Pharisees? Did he assume his message wouldn't resonate with people who knew him as family? If that's the way some see him, I'd say they probably don't know him. They certainly don't know him as the teacher, the rabbi, the pastor of pastors, like many of us do. He was indeed teaching his disciples just the way we should today. He was building his church, just the way he spoke later in the Gospel of John. Let me explain. It may have escaped your attention, but Jesus wasn't baptizing. He was gaining disciples, but he wasn't baptizing them. His disciples were. This is very early in his burgeoning public ministry. John was still baptizing just a few miles down the Jordan. What he was doing was teaching and trusting. Two words that have somehow fallen out of use these days. As he taught, people were convicted and wanted to set things right in a meaningful and memorable way. It would appear that Jesus would then turn to one of his disciples and say, "Could you please take this person down to the water and baptize him?" That is what teaching and trusting, not guiding and guarding, looks like. If you look closely, you'll see this kind of trust throughout his ministry. He wasn't afraid to trust his disciples because he knew one day they'd be the ones discipling other people. Oh yes, as I pointed out, there were two examples of his methods. When it says, I'll quote it again, "Now he himself had testified that a prophet has no honor in his hometown. Yet when he arrived, the Galileans welcomed him." So, did he underestimate people? Was he afraid and expressed that fear to his disciples at some point? To believe that would again suggest a really ungenerated view of the Lord. As James said in chapter 3, verse 15, "This is not wisdom that comes down from above, but is earthly, unspiritual, and demonic." That's from the English Standard Version. No, what he had testified to them is that when you have heard from God, you should speak. And when you speak, those who know you in a familial way may not honor what God has done in you. It's as if honor comes more easily when we testify to strangers. While there is some truth in that, like the experience in Galilee that we read about earlier in our devotional, the people who know us know who we are. The things that God has done in us may indeed speak louder than our words. Always remember that our testimony is a changed life. What God has done in our lives is the message. The words we speak are often just trying to make sense of that. So be encouraged. When you get in those situations where there's a lot of familiarity. Remember to work on focus on the works that God has done in you, and try to explain to others what they mean. They're watching. God bless you. Have a good day.